Well, it goes without saying that we are all incredibly grateful to the men and women who serve in the military and want to do our part to help them when they return home.
Question is, how can we best ease the transition back into everyday life for these vets and help get them organized? Brenden McDaniel is here with Action Organizing Services. Good morning to you. And veteran Sean Chipman joining us this morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
First and foremost, thank you. 2 tours of duty in Iraq and 1 in Afghanistan. We appreciate your service to our country and you being here today. Brenden, let's start with you because this is your business. You go into people's homes and get their lives organized, and you're running into more and more vets, you said.
Yes. Now's the time. We're getting a lot of vets coming back, and it's amazing.
With everything winding down in Iraq, there's a lot more coming back at once, right?
And it's been going on for years, though, the cycle of coming back and forth. And some vets have families and some don't, and there's adjusting. And I've noticed in my organizing practice, you just can't go in and do some of the same things you normally would.
So there are specific needs for our vets. So let's kind of run that down because it's not like working with just your average run-of-the-day Joe or Jill. What are the typical needs of a vet? Well,
for instance, when you're working with a vet, you need to be a little more patient. There's some idiosyncrasies that you don't always expect. You want to listen a lot more to what they're saying and what they're not saying. A vet, if they're just coming back from their tour, they're coming from a duffel bag and now to an apartment or a home, and it's a big adjustment.
Yeah, it must be like huge, literally, because everything that they would need is in this duffel, and then all of a sudden they've got this huge apartment or condo or house or whatever that they have to deal with now.
Yes, and Sean, you were mentioning before you weren't used to using hangers when you came back.
I lived in a makeshift sand bunker, and there's not enough space for 15 guys to hang up certain things, so oftentimes things were folded. And now I have this huge apartment to myself. Not only do I not have things like TV or Xbox, but I don't have hangers to even put my clothes on.
Because you just hadn't been used to using them.
Wow.
It's just out of habit.
Right. Okay.
Were you prepared for the transition, or did little things like that, everyday things like hangers, pop up?
I honestly was not. I thought that things would be exactly the way before I joined.
Sure.
And I didn't quite understand the little idiosyncrasies that were about readjusting back to normal life.
Okay. Now, some of the other needs that you have found for vets here, one of the big ones, the structure is different. Obviously, military life is very structured.
Right. You're going from very structured life to all of a sudden you have to do everything yourself, or you don't have to do anything. And maybe sometimes when you're working with a vet, whether you're organizing or what have you, let some clothes or socks be on the floor for a while. That might be needed.
Right, just give some extra time to transition, right? And you say you're living alone, which I would imagine is a big transition too, because obviously you had everyone around you in close quarters, and now here you are.
You get used to that communal environment, and it's definitely different when you're by yourself.
Excellent.
And one thing I learned from talking with Sean and a lot of vets, there's certain questions you don't ever ask a vet,
And what's the big one, Sean? We were talking about it a bit off air. But
they ask about if you've ever killed somebody or friends of yours have died, and that's a very intrusive sort of question.
Right. And that is obvious. I mean, to me, it seems pretty obvious, not a question that should be asked, but you're saying that it does happen.
Quite frequently, actually.
There's that curiosity that we all, I've never asked it, but it just, if a vet brings it up, maybe be patient and listen, but never ask. That just could throw off a whole session.
Things to keep in mind, and people don't know what to say sometimes, so they say the wrong things. All right, very good information, things to keep in mind as well. Sean, thank you again for being here. And Brenden, thank you as well.
Thank you.
All right, coming up, we're going to check back in with Tony, see what he's doing, seeing if he is woken up. Is it an octopus that we're waiting on?
I think so. I'm kind of scared, though.
We'll see. Maybe at least half the legs will be moving or something. That's coming up.